What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil. Episode 370. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. You can also check out our store on our link tree on all of those social media sites by hitting the link tree, or you can go to the shop tab at the top of the website and represent the BSC on the go and look for the time breakdowns of the description of the show. I didn't want to forget the intro. I don't believe I forgot it last week. I think I forgot it the week before, so I wanted to dive right into that. But Phil, as the weeks progress into our off season, we're into month number 2. By the time next episode is, we're halfway through July. It's flying by. But as we do, and we started this a little bit ago, how was your week in review from the last time we spoke on podcast?
It was 4th of July weekend, so didn't really do too much as far as fireworks go, but went to the in-laws in Rochester. I did have apple pie, which I think is pretty American.
Love apple pie.
Had carrot cake, which isn't too bad. I love cream cheese frosting. We went up there because my in-laws have they got a big garden, and they had some currants, which is a type of berry that's really good, and they were fresh and ready to be picked, so sat there in front of the bush and just ate a ton of fresh currants. Those are pretty delicious. And then they got 2 really small little ponds, and I met their, was it resident frog that they have there that was chilling in the pond. He was pretty cool. He was having a good day. And then on Saturday night, I was outside chilling on the patio by myself and saw something out of the corner of my eye, and it was a rat, and it was kind of headed right at me, and I was just kind of chilling, not really paying attention, and it spooked me, and I spooked him more, luckily, so he sprinted off toward our side garden and then made a hard left through a bunny trail into the neighbor's backyard, so I was happy that he went away from the house. But yeah, between a frog and a rat, we had a pretty wild animal weekend over here.
Yeah, it's like you're living at the farm. It's an eventful time over at Phil's place. Sounds like it went over pretty well. No, all hands intact, all 10 fingers, 10 toes.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah, we hunkered down. I was doing some number crunching for all the behind-the-scenes stuff Friday night. So I had the one Maggie, our one dog that is afraid of all fireworks. So the box fan upstairs. For 140 some out of your house, it's pretty insulated, and you can't really hear a bunch of stuff on the outside. We're also, I mean, I lived in Niagara Falls for 8 years, and all the houses are like on top of each other. And in Niagara Falls, your neighbor shoots off like giant fireworks, like industrial size fireworks that shouldn't be owned by normal human beings, especially people that live in Niagara Falls.
Also, year round.
Yeah, they shoot them off year round too. But I think it also helps that we're so spaced out here that even if the neighbors shoot them off, it's still 100, 200 yards away. So that does help, but we didn't hear a ton of them. Heard a lot of fireworks shows. Were really good. Didn't really see any here, but not really complaining whatsoever. Mom's birthday was on Tuesday. That's why we're recording a little late on Tuesday. That's my bad. Happy birthday, Mom. I was working on chopping down the forest, and then a little incident happened. My wife texted you because she wasn't sure when we were recording, because my wife doesn't take too much. What we do here doesn't really concern her too much, because I kind of just go like, hey, I'm recording, even though it's the same day, pretty much the entire time. It's Tuesdays during the off seasons, and then Sunday nights, and I guess during the season it varies a bit, but off season it's mostly Tuesday nights. So she sent a text to you because she didn't know if we were recording. I set off one of her booby traps, and I should say that's a joke because I don't want people to take it seriously. I was chopping down some of the forest behind my house, and I was pulling a dead branch from the ground, and somehow it released a branch that was in the tree, and it came swinging and hit me directly in the eye. And let me tell you, wear goggles, people, because holy cow. I'm good now. This happened on Saturday. I got the all clear from the doctor on Monday, but I scratched my eye, like the actual eye part, not the eyelid or anything, my actual
Cornea?
eyeball, my cornea, that made me have to go to the ER on Saturday. I stumbled in. Brooke and the puppy came inside, and this happened maybe like 15 minutes after she was inside. So I'm in the backfield. I'm on the outside of the fencing. So it hit me so hard that my other eye couldn't open as well. And they said that's kind of normal when you scratch your one eye that your other eye can't open. But I somehow managed to not lose my glass. The glasses didn't move at all, so it hit me underneath it. I had both my earbuds still in, and I couldn't see. So I somehow managed going from the backfield, finding the gate, through the gate, into the house, finding the sink, and just like dousing my face with water. I took like an hour and a half, 2 hour nap, and thinking, okay, maybe it's just like a whiplash or something. Maybe I'll be fine, just sleep it off for a little bit. Woke up still in so much pain. We had Brooke text our buddy Mike, who's a nurse, just going like, hey, like, what do you think we should do? He found out that the one hospital in our area was a 15-minute wait for the ER, their triage one. So we're like, okay, we'll go there. They questioned, I already didn't have my glasses on because I can't see. Why would I bring my glasses? And they stood me in front of the thing. They're like, okay, read the sign in front of you. I went, I literally can't open my eyes. They went, well, try. And I opened my eyes. I went, I don't know. Is it an E? And they went, okay, just take him back. He got the first run wrong. And it's like the big one. So then they like numb my eye. They did all these tests, and they said it was borderline where they were deciding whether or not to transfer me to ECMC because of how bad it was. And they went, it's really borderline. They went, okay, we're not going to transfer you, but if it gets any worse, you have to go to ECMC. And regardless of what happens, you have to go to an eye professional on Monday. So we waited. Sunday got a little bit better, but I still couldn't open my right eye. And then Monday, I woke up. I seemed fine. It was still swollen, but I could see out of my eyes. I went to the doctor and like, oh yeah, we don't see anything. And I'm like, how do you not see anything? It was borderline being transferring me to like ECMC, but now it's completely healed. Like, it doesn't make any sense. He goes, well, if it gets bad again, we got some steroids on hold for you at the pharmacy that you can go get if you need. I went, well, if there's nothing there, if you're not seeing anything, why you got steroids on hold? So as of Tuesday at 8:27, I'm doing good. But yeah, I keep telling and joking with Brooke, I was always anticipating ER visits. I just wasn't anticipating it before we started getting like legit animals in our field and I have an actual barn and stuff. I wasn't anticipating being whiplash in the eye by a branch. But yeah, don't suggest it. It freaking hurts.
It's exactly like Christmas Story, because he also
Shoot your eye out.
Yeah, shoot your eye out, and he's got glasses on as well, and it goes right through his glasses. So you're pretty much him. But congrats on your miracle healing vision.
I couldn't believe it either.
Pretty quick.
I think he's a quack. He didn't show up in a gown or anything. He was like probably a 75, 80-year-old man that had like, you know my blazer that I wore for your wedding? Yeah. He had one of those on and like one of those really gold like pinky rings. And he goes, yeah, I don't see anything. It must have been a superficial scratch. I was like, that's not what they were telling me at the hospital. They did a little glow thing over your eye where they put some kind of solution in your eye and then do like a black light over top of it so they see. And they went, oh yeah, we don't even need this. We see exactly where it is. It's a bad one. I was like, how does that heal in 2 days? Like, that makes no sense. But
that other guy just stumbled off the street and just wandered into your room. He's like, let's take a look at this guy's eye. I don't know what I'm doing here.
I told Brooke because she was working. She goes, there's no way your eye already healed. I was like, I mean, I feel okay. Like, I'm still a little sensitive to lights, so these lights that are coming at me right now hurt a little bit. But other than that, I can open it and I feel fine.
Still can't believe they wouldn't give you the eye patch.
Yeah, I asked for one multiple times. They thought I was joking, and they just kept laughing. And I'm like, I really want an eye patch. But,
I would like an eye patch. It is my right to ask for an eye patch in this situation. What other time am I going to be able to ask for an eye patch? All right, these opportunities don't come up all that often, so give me the eye patch, please.
Yeah. So the force is not completed yet. It will be completed soon. I haven't been back there yet because I got PTSD back there. But fireworks.
So you gonna go grab yourself some new goggles?
I have goggles, they just weren't being worn. But I didn't think I needed them. I wasn't expecting a booby trap back there. Again, I'm kidding. Don't call the authorities on me. But yeah, fireworks dodged me. It was the branch. I did joke at the one doctor's office on Monday, and yeah, what happened? I was like, branch hit me. I didn't duck. They didn't find it funny. Like, I'm one of those ones that tries to add humor to serious situations so I can get through it. And when people don't reciprocate it, it makes me a little bit nervous. And
Like, sir, we don't have time for your jokes. Yeah. There are serious patients here.
So as long as no more trees, I'll be back next week. But that was my week in review. Little different. Phil was dealing with frogs and rats, and I was dealing with branches to the eyes. But yeah, we'll move on. We promoted this last week, and we're going to be doing it this week, and we're doing it next week. But the 2025 Fan Cup is back in Buffalo for the first time since 2017. Teams from Toronto, Chicago, Philly, Rochester, Minnesota, and North Carolina will be coming to Riverworks on July 19th to face off versus the Buffalo Brigade. The event is going on for the year 22. That's insane. Yes, there were 2 COVID missed years, so this really should be 24, but COVID jinxed and jeopardized a lot of things for us. But and this helps raise funds for different charities. This year, there were 4 that were chosen, and they are the Native American Community Services of Western New York, Nickel City Canine Rescue, Buddy's Second Chance Rescue, and Greater Buffalo Adaptive Sports. This event is free to attend. Opening ceremonies kick off at 8:30 and the first game is at 9. There will be basket and silent auctions, cultural activities, alumni lacrosse player appearances, vendors, and many other activities to help raise funds for the charities that we did mention. Now, if you want to know more information, check out their website at fancup.ca. Again, that's FANN cup.ca for more information. And if you want to come say hi to me on Saturday the 19th, come to Riverworks. Come say hi. Maybe I'll say hi back. Maybe I'll slap you. Who knows? Duck. Get ready. Lacrosse is a great cause, and this is an even better one. Stay tuned for the newest interview that we are going to be dropping this weekend with Herb Guth, who won this year's Bandits Fan of the Year. We're going to have him on for an interview to discuss a little bit more of this, and yeah, some Bandits questions mixed in there, but he's also the captain of the Buffalo Brigade and one of the organizers for this awesome event, so looking forward to talking with Herb. We're recording this on Thursday. Hopefully I can get it out this weekend, but if you're interested in learning a bit more on how you can help out or give to this one, find out this weekend as we drop that interview. But really looking forward to this event, and we're going to keep pumping it out because it is not this coming weekend, it is the following weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this is all about because, again, hasn't been in Buffalo in 8 years.
I was trying to mentally combine lacrosse and cause because they're similar, and all I came up with was lacrosse.
Lacrosse, yeah.
It's a great lacrosse, and that's what we're going to go with. But obviously, there's not too much more to add. You kind of nailed everything about this event. But like you said, the biggest thing is it's free. It supports a few charities. It's local. I mean, we are in the middle of no lacrosse, obviously, right now with the Bandits out. But there's lacrosse, plenty of summer lacrosse going on. But if you're not willing to go to where it is, this is coming to you in Buffalo, in Riverworks. It's free to attend. Go enjoy it. It's a great, great event for a lot of great causes and is a really awesome thing. Like you said, hasn't been back here in 8 years. So it's a great opportunity to see what an awesome event it is. And it's local and it's lacrosse. So go have some fun.
Yeah, and again, we've been saying for 4+ years, we're trying to find ways to give back to the community and the listeners, and we're really thankful that they did reach out to us to try to partner up with us and them to help promote this
the word out.
Thing. And yeah, if we can get one more person out there, well, we were successful. So we'll move on. League report cards.
Before we get to that,
yeah, I'm ready.
Super quick. The World Junior Lacrosse Championships just wrapped up on Sunday. Team USA won 9-8, second gold medal in 3 years. USA. Do you know who they defeated?
Canada?
No. And that is why I asked. I guess the Scottish Thistles, which, incredible name, first off, are really good at lacrosse. They won gold last year over Team USA. and were in the gold medal after bouncing they bounced Canada, and then they lost to USA in the finals again. So had no idea, but the Scottish Thistles are really good at lacrosse. They were in back-to-back championship games, won one, lost one, but still really impressive. And I do love the name. Good for the Scottish Thistles. Nice job out there. And Team USA for the win.
I was going to say good, but not good enough. So suck it, USA. We'll move on. Like I said, report cards. We actually have 4 teams to cover today because we want to keep Buffalo Bandits separate. They get their own classroom. They
deserve to be.
Yeah, their parents come in for special day. We got 4 troublemakers today, which will include Rochester, Vancouver, Halifax, and Saskatchewan. If this is your first time, what have you been doing the last 3 weeks? But welcome to the classroom. Sit down, pay attention, and keep your mouth shut. How we do is we review what their season looked like, some of the players who are going to be upcoming free agents, how their makeup looks like. We'll give them a grade. And then we'll kind of pick some players off of them because we're greedy little Bandits fans. But we'll move on first to Rochester. 10-8 season, finished 5th. 228 goals for, which was third, 12.67. Phil, if this number sounds familiar, let me know. 11.61 goals against, tied for 6th. So many teams finished that. They lost 15-10 in the first round of the playoffs to Vancouver in Vancouver. Phil, what did you think of Rochester's season?
Yeah, they had a good one, but not great. Obviously, 10-8 made playoffs. They did what they needed to do to get there, but I had them in the finals with Buffalo, and they did not do that. The offense, not really a ton to talk about. They're really, really good. Fields, league MVP. As we know, and every other player kind of followed his lead. Smith and Waters lost some points, but Lanchberry and McConvey took massive steps forward this year. And like we've said before, some of the points when, somebody on the team goes up in points, somebody else most likely goes down unless somehow you go through the roof with goals scored. They did add... 12 goals, somewhere around there, 14 goals, somewhere in there from the previous season. The defense also really good. They're a big transition defense. They have some solid defenders that are one-on-one stay-at-home defenders, but Gilray had an incredible season. I know you picked him for transition player of the year, and even though we didn't get that, he still had a good year. 27 caused turnovers, 19 blocks, 127 loose balls, and 20 points in transition. Really, really solid season. And then Jensen, Tutton, Reese, Gillies, Medeiros, that's a solid defensive core. The big thing for them, which the numbers were not bad, but the goaltending to me is still what hurt them the most, and that is sadly a theme of some of the top teams here coming up. But Hutchcraft had a solid season, 11.24 goals against, 79 save percentage. Most teams in the league would love that. Hartley, in his 9 games, had a 10.79 goals against and 77 save percentage. Also not bad, but the problem was they just weren't consistent enough, weren't good enough, and then in the playoff game, like you mentioned, Vancouver was able to pump in 15 goals, and it was over pretty quickly there. So I do think in the end, I know their offense, Christian Del Bianco and Vancouver's defense is elite. Again, we'll get to that in a moment, so it was tough to fully blame the defense and goaltending when you only put in 10 goals, but we saw Buffalo win that kind of low-scoring game against Vancouver. So to me, the defense and goaltending let them down in the playoffs.
Yeah, they started 1-4, and then they were 4-7 at one point. Phil and I were questioning our choices and our thoughts and everything before the season, and then they went on that 6-game winning streak and were exactly who we said they were going to be to get to 10-7, and then they lost that final game to lose the home field advantage. But I don't think they would have gotten it because Vancouver had the head-to-head advantage over them. They needed Vancouver to lose and them to win, but so on and so forth. Hartley, when he came back, he's the one that kind of changed it, and it seemed like the defense in front of him got a little bit more confidence with Hartley playing behind him. It's not like Hutchcraft played poorly. He had 79 save percentage, but it's just when you have your starter in net compared to when you have your backup in net, it exudes confidence. And Hartley is the type of player that, he's fun to watch, and he's still a young developing goaltender that he's an unorthodox type of goaltender, and I love watching him, but he adds that extra bit of flair and that extra bit of confidence to the defense, and I think that helped turn everything around. The offense, so you already went over it, looked very dangerous. Lanchbury and Ho came in and were great additions. Fields finally gets that MVP. Defense was shaky at times, but I thought they were very solid. Jensen already took that next step. I really wanted him in the offseason. He blew that opportunity. But I know as we look forward, what does Rochester look like? Is Rochester still in the league? Is there a dispersal draft? There'll be plenty of more time to talk about that one. But I think as of what this last season was, I know you went against, it was pretty much the two hottest teams, if you exclude Halifax, in the first round in a one-and-done matchup. It kind of stinks that the two hottest teams going into the playoffs had to face each other, but that's the way it crumbles. And when we had Pat Gregoire on the show, I asked him, I went, hey, if Rochester loses, do you think that's more about Rochester being a disappointment in the playoffs again, or do you think that's Vancouver taking that next step? And looking back at it, I think it's Rochester kind of having a disappointing season. Yes, you turned it all around and you finished in fifth, and you climbed up the ladder a bit more and not having to worry about the Bandits in the first round, but you still dropped the first round exit when you had that lethal of an offense. What changes? And you look towards the future. If there is a future with this team, we'll assume that there is going to be a future, whether they relocate or somebody comes up and buys this team. But they hold the 10th overall pick. They own their own second round pick under contract right now. You got Connor Fields for 4 more years. Ryan Lanchbury's got another year. You're looking at the forward group. Really, there's only a handful of UFAs in the lineup, and not very many of them were star-studded players. You had Curtis Knight, who had 39 points, but other than that, you got Turner Evans, who really only had 9 points. Austin Hazen, yes, he was on the practice squad, so he was a UFA. You brought in Brad McCulley, he didn't see any action. Brandon Robinson didn't play. So a lot of this young offense that is studly and looks really, really good, but seems to always fall short in the playoffs, can come back to this team, and if Rochester is a team, their offense is always going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like you just mentioned, I don't know what they need. I mean, consistent goaltending, fine. If Hartley plays a full healthy season, I think he has it in him to be that guy. He can be their true 1A, and he can be one of the better goalies in the league. We've seen him plenty of times in individual games have that kind of game. And I think he's done it enough in stretches, but he has to remain healthy for a whole season. That's a big part of it. And even headed down toward the end of the stretch, it was, are they going to trust Hartley in that playoff game, or were they going to go with Hutchcraft? And that's, whenever you are going into playoffs with that question in mind at all, that's not what you're looking for your team. So consistent goaltending would help, but their offense at the same time, like you said, that's 2 years in a row they've gotten bounced in the first round, and the offense didn't really show up when it needed to the most. Again, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but Vancouver's defense and goaltending obviously elite, but that's not an excuse. They still had the team, I think, to compete. If they were playing their best, they should have been able to compete with Vancouver, and Vancouver in that game made it look very easy to win. Like, I know 15-10 doesn't sound like a huge blowout, but that game was over pretty quick. And I mean, yes, it's playoffs, they could have came back, whatever, but it shouldn't have been that easy for Vancouver to walk all over Rochester. Rochester is a good team with how they're built, but they're missing something, either offense, defense, or consistent goaltending. Something needs to change for this team to take that next step and get out of that first round.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams around the league, if there's a dispersal draft, they're drooling right now, and you don't want to know who is at the top of the board. That could
it's
be
really
the
annoying.
new home for Connor
I hope
Fields.
not.
Somebody a little bit north here who's going to go back to Hamilton.
I don't know, like Panther City was obviously a bottom team, so no offense to them, but when their dispersal draft came out, it wasn't like there were a couple at the top, obviously, but then
it was loaded top heavy.
Yeah, but this draft, if it's one, would be 2 rounds, 3 rounds deep of players you absolutely want on your team. So that would be wild to see.
Yeah, you're looking at the back end. Matt Gilray's got 2 years left. Ryland Reese has got 1. Chad Tutton's got another. And then you're kind of looking at it. There's not a ton of UFAs on this end either. You got Brandon Slade, who came in, only played 4 games. Tyler Hall's only played in 2 games. Dan Coates, yes, he's the captain of the team, but he only played in 8 games. Brad Gillies, he's one of the bigger known guys back there. And then Ian Lord, who was up there in the block shots with the Paul Dawsons. He's a notable name. He's going to be 39 years old. I believe he's going to be 39, maybe 40. Going into next season, does he continue to play? that's really the only big names back there. Josh Medeiros, he's an RFA. Taylor Jensen, his rights stay there. So I do think they need to add another piece on the defense, but it really does come down to goaltending. And do you trust Ryan Hartley's going to take that next step? He's got the numbers for it, but he faltered in the playoffs, giving up 10, I think it was 11 goals before he got pushed. Riley Hutchcraft, does he want to move elsewhere? Does he look to go to a team like maybe Buffalo if Matt Vince isn't there, and try to win a starting job there? Because as long as Hartley's there, yes, you might be able to come in relief, but I think the edge is always going to go to Hartley in Rochester. And again, I thought Hutchcraft played very good. 79 save percentage, 11.24 goals against. I thought he played very solid. So overall, we gave them a B. I think it probably could have and should have been higher because we liked them on paper going into this season. I think we had them, and I believe you had them going to the finals. I really like their team. I really like their makeup. It's just like you said, there's something missing, and I think it's more consistent on the back end and in net. And if they get if Rylan Hartley can develop into the star goaltender that I think a lot of people are hoping he can be, I think this team is destined for greatness if they achieve that. But you're kind of looking at, okay, who could Buffalo kind of poach off this? And I'm kind of looking at the dispersal draft, that who could possibly be there if that's factored into it. And a guy who I think is kind of flying under the radar because he didn't play at all last year is Mitch Ogilvie. And he's only 25 years old. He's an RFA. Again, he didn't play all last year, but the year before that, he had 9 points on the back end, 67 loose balls, 14 caused turnovers, 15 block shots. The year before that, 8 points on the back end, 116 loose balls, 21 caused turnovers, 13 block shots. That seems like a player that if he somehow does fall in the dispersal draft, or if Rochester goes out and adds another piece on defense and Ogilvie gets pushed out, similar to like a Thomas Whitty happened, the connection is there between Buffalo and Rochester. I mean, not just based on prior ownership that own the same teams, not just based on close proximity to each other, but players that need to be in the region. I think that's a pretty good position to be in if you want to try to poach another guy off Rochester's team.
Yeah, and the dispersal draft would also be interesting, exactly like you already mentioned with Hutchcraft. Possibly, yeah. I think he's someone who would fall potentially. I mean, there's a lot of teams
it would be interesting because you saw what happened with Panther City, where Nick Damoud gets picked early, but then you had Calgary who trades up into the 10 spot and gets Cam McLeod. So I would assume Hutchcraft would probably go in the top 10, whether that means a team trades up or one of the teams in the 7, 8, 9 range does take him. So I maybe Buffalo would be interested in trading up with some of the draft picks that we'll go over next week.
Long story short, though, do not fold. Not only for the league's sake, but also I don't want any of these other teams getting free all-star players because there are too many on this team for Buffalo not to get.
Yeah, and we went over, if you just backtrack in order, I don't believe that Las Vegas is going to select Connor Fields because he already knows Connor Fields has to play out east, unless you want to try to make that trade, even though although that didn't really work last time for you, Vegas. I was listening to Lacrosse Classified. They mentioned Ryan Smith, who I know you absolutely love.
I really do.
I know that's West Coast, but you're an RFA. You don't really have much of an option unless you demand it. But it would be very interesting to see. But again, that's down the road. But we got 3 more teams to go over. But before we do, let's dive into our first and only sponsor of this episode, Tap That Tap Room. At 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. It's Buffalo's first woman-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps. They offer a variety of beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
Wednesday night is Geeks Who Drink Trivia at 7:30 with the patio open. PK, a little while ago, we went to a trivia night and took full advantage of the patio, and it was amazing. They got speakers out there, so you don't have to worry about missing the questions or anything, and I believe everything else is on your phone, so you don't have to worry about any of that. It is a great, great time. Thursdays is Thank You Thursdays with 10% off for military, first responders, and teachers. Friday, 3 to 7, still is happy hour, but then starting at 7 p.m. is DJ Nightlight, possibly a new Friday night tradition as he has taken over all the way until midnight. You can enjoy the mix of hits, throwbacks, and everything in between. Dance the Friday night away. And finally, Don't forget that Thursday, July 17th, is the Speed Puzzle Competition. Get your tickets now, and to find out about other upcoming events, check out their Facebook page, and to find out what's on tap and what's on deck, check out tapthattaproom.com, because they have something
for everyone. Still waiting for my royalties check there, but that's a different story. Vancouver Warriors, 11-7, fourth in the league, 196 goals for, which was ninth, 10.89 a game. And for some reason, I keep doing I don't do the totals for the goals against for some reason in my notes here. I just did the same goals against average, 9.59, which was first in the league. I'll fix that moving forward.
Goals
they lost
9-3.
Yeah, lost 9-3 and 11-9 to Buffalo in round 2, which was a home and home the same weekend.
Yeah, the 9-3. Good reminder for Rochester that your 10 goals could have been good enough if your defense and goaltending was there as well. But Vancouver, I think their offense is still their weakness. I think it's kind of obvious. They finished 9th, and they actually went down this year in goals for. They have a decent team as far as that goes. I mean, they had everyone back from 2024. They added Claridge, who had a good season. Martel took a step back, going from 73 points in 18 games to just 36 in 16. But outside of that, their offense pretty much repeated 2024. But that is the problem to me. Their 2024 season on offense wasn't good enough, and their 2025 season, being virtually the same, still wasn't good enough. And that ended up being their biggest problem in playoffs as well. I mean, holding Buffalo to 9 goals and then 11 goals is not too bad, but when your offense can't put up more than 3 and 9, it does not really help. So their defense, PK has dubbed one of, if not the best in the entire league. They are extremely good. They got Dilks, Grant, Cornwall, Mitski, Bowering, and Charbonneau as a solid defensive lineup, not to mention Beers and Subak as well. Their defense and transition are loaded. Grant looks like an all-star in the making. Dilks already is. And then goaltending, these numbers are ridiculous. Aiden Walsh in 2024 had an 1162 goals against and a 75.4 save percentage, but he turned that around in 2025 with a 989 and a 79 save percentage. But that wasn't good enough for Vancouver. They said, "You're horrible. We need somebody better." And they went to the couch of Christian Del Bianco where he was sitting and finally was able to get that trade done with Calgary. Christian Del Bianco came in, proved that he is still one of the best in the game. He had a 877 goals against average and 82 save percentage. Both those numbers are ridiculous. He is really, really good. But at the same time, as far as Walsh goes and his future, I think it's really good to see a young goalie have the season he had, be able to play as well as he did, and then have a goalie in front of him. Not really, there's nothing he can do about it. If you get an opportunity to get a player like Christian Del Bianco, you're going to do it. But now he has a chance to be a really big all-star goalie in the future and kind of make a name for himself as a true 1A next season. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do. And Christian Del Bianco, it's great to see him back in the league. I like him a lot as one of my favorite players in the league, but also he's real good at lacrosse.
Yeah, they started 3-1, and then they went on that 2-6 run in the next 8 before finishing on a 6-game winning streak because the guy from the couch decided to start playing. But yeah, Ball had an MVP type season. Grant was another insane season. Defense is top notch. We said it multiple times that we really didn't want to face Vancouver in the playoffs because I thought their defense fit perfectly against Buffalo's offense because they're punch in the mouth type of defense and just see if you keep coming back for more, and Buffalo decided to. Sheridan didn't play. Shinato rarely played. Claridge played really well. You already mentioned him. He went from transition player to a full-time forward, and I think he's going to excel up there. And then the one guy that you did mention was bringing in Christian Del Bianco off the couch. Even with Aiden Walsh, I've made the joke multiple times that all you had to do to fix the offense was bring in a goaltender, and somehow it fixed it. But it really did turn the entire team around when you get a goaltender like Christian Del Bianco. And it's not just because Aiden Walsh was struggling. Aiden Walsh was we had him on our goaltender of the year midway through the season, and he was playing like a goaltender of the year type of player. But when there's an opportunity to go get a Christian Del Bianco, which he said he was only going to go to Vancouver, so your options are limited, you have to get him because we said it when it happened. This isn't the next 6 to 10 game type of player. This is the next 6 to 10 type of year player. And that's why you go get him. And I do agree with you. The offense need to be fixed. And I think that's the next step in Kurt Malowski's plan. He got the goaltender of the future. The defense is looking good, even though a lot of the players are older. They have some younger players. They remind me of Buffalo's a little bit, but I think their defense is just a tad bit more rough and tumble and slightly different style that I like as well. But I think this offseason is going to be very interesting to see what type of players in the free agency market can Kurt Malowski pull over to Vancouver, because a lot of these players want to go play in Vancouver. And now that you got the coach, and now that you got the goaltender and the defense, and you got the playoff drought out of the way, making names in the second round, you hung it with Buffalo for a bit there. It's going to be very interesting to see what type of names they bring in. But the offense can change in an instant, because they have no first rounder or second rounder this year. They have they don't own their own first or second rounders this year, because that went to Calgary for the Christian Del Bianco deal. They have Vegas' second, which is early from the Kyle Killen deal, and they have Saskatchewan's second round pick from the Brock Haley deal in 2024. So they have a couple second round picks, but they don't have anybody on offense signed. It's insane. Sheridan's his rights to remain there. Keegan Ball's a UFA. Kevin Crowley, does he come back? He's a UFA. Riley Lowen, who I know Kurt Malowski loves, he's a UFA. But Charlene Beatty's an RFA. Ryan Martell's an RFA. So a lot of the players likely are coming back. But it'll be interesting to see the two bigger names like the Crowleys and the Lowens. Do they come back, or do they push out of the way for newer players coming in? Because I would imagine they want Keegan Ball coming back, but who do they pair with him and Charlene Beatty's? And then you look on the back end. You got 4 guys that are locked in. They got a couple UFAs that are pretty big names in Dilks and Mitski, but I'm assuming they're probably going to be coming back. And then you got a few guys like Grant, whose rights stay there. You got Stathakis, who had a great year at the faceoff dad. He's likely coming back. Reed Bowering's an RFA. Ticehurst, who comes over in the deal with Aiden Walsh, he's an RFA. So I think a lot of these players are coming back. It's just, how does the offense get reshaped this offseason? Because you got the goaltender, you got the majority of the defense, but how does the offense look this coming year? Because I think Vancouver could easily be a lot of people's picks to win the next championship. Even if Matt Vince comes back, I would not be shocked in the least if, when Vancouver signs a free agents, that they're the new number 1 favorite to win the championship.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it depends on the offense, but it depends on, do they want to push out the Crowley and Lowens for younger players or just different players, or do they like the mix of veteran and youth that they have, similar to Buffalo, where they have some older guys to pair with the younger guys coming in? I think it'll be really interesting, but they have to do something on offense. It's just not good enough right now. It's not horrible by any means, and with the defense and Christian Del Bianco that they have.
Do you want some names that I think could possibly go there?
I don't, because it's going to be depressing, I think, because this team's going to be good. But
Curtis Dixon out there? That sounds like somebody who's destined to go play in Vancouver with Kurt Malowski again. What about a Mitch Jones?
No.
What about a Jesse King?
No.
Ryan Benesh? Dane Doby? Oh, man. If I could easily see...
Dixon alone is horrifying.
Yeah, tell me if I'm wrong here. I could easily see Dixon, I could easily see King, and I could easily see Mitch Jones, all 3 of them going to sign with Vancouver this offseason. I could see all 3 of them saying, hey, we're on the wrong side of 30. Let's go get a championship with this star-studded team. They're going to break free agency. It's honestly
they need the money to do it, but they can do it. And like you said, I think they've become a new destination already. Yeah. They are a team that, if you don't want to go to Buffalo and try to win with them, especially because Buffalo's core is locked in and solid and they don't really make too many moves in the offseason.
And if you want to stay West Coast.
And if you want to stay West Coast, I think this is the team. Now, I think this is like the Buffalo equivalent, but out west. This is the other team right now. I think that's going to be the destination. I think the Rush are as well, but they aren't quite as great of a destination as Vancouver. Yeah,
where they're located, it hinders them.
Right. Yep. And I think with everything Vancouver has going on, they're going to be a team that, or an area that people really look to push to. And I think another one, again, it'll have to be a sit-out type situation, but Tyler Pace also could try to find his way
I don't think
onto-
Calgary's going to let him move anytime soon. Poor guy. Poor guy.
We'll see.
Unless the CBA changes, who knows? But yeah, we gave him a B plus. That might be a little light, maybe more an A minus, but let's stick him at a B plus because
They need better offense.
yeah, that's the only thing really hindering them, and we already went over it, and we'll go over it as we lead up to quote unquote when free agency opens. Maybe, who knows? But I'm assuming they're going to push that as well. But well, for Bandits' interest, this one was tough, and we kind of went over it before. West Coast teams are always tough, and I try to dig into this one, just trying to see, okay, are there any RFAs, or are there any guys that have their rights with Vancouver that are more East Coast guys? There's not really any out there, so I kind of just toss it out there as like, okay, who's a guy that might not be fitting the system, that might be getting pushed aside because of the changes on offense, and it comes down to, does Kyle Buchanan come back? Because if Kyle Buchanan doesn't come back, I'm more in favor of switching it to the 3 righties, 4 lefties, and maybe I'm crazy, maybe that's never going to happen, but if you do that, why don't you bring in more left-handed talent and bring in a guy who struggled this year in a Ryan Martell? He had maybe 1 or 2 good games, and I good games in quotes, the games that you're used to seeing Ryan Martell play last year, and he kind of went over it last year. He had 73 points last year, 34 goals, 39 points, 34 goals, 39 assists, 73 points. This year, 14, 22, and 36. He definitely struggled, and I think 5 of those 14 came in 1 game. He's a guy that drew interest from Dick Weiss and Dylan Robinson multiple times, getting hits to the head, but I would have interest in a Ryan Martell type of deal if he's willing to come East Coast. Don't even know if that's possible because he is an RFA. He can kind of say, I'm not coming East Coast, but if he is getting pushed out of Vancouver, which seems he possibly could. I mean, you heard Kurt Malowski say multiple times, if you don't want to play my system, you're going to be on the bench. Ryan Martell might be one of those players that isn't ready to play that type of system, that might be on his way out, and maybe you can get a talented player like a Ryan Martell on the cheap end.
Hey, when you started mentioning Kyle Buchanan, I was like, well, Martell is a lefty forward. Don't know where you're going with this. But then you mixed it up. And you brought it all home. Like you said, these West Coast teams are really, really difficult to find anybody because it's just not how the NLL works. I mean, the NLL works literally the exact opposite, where players get traded closer to their homes and their jobs simply because they want to stay in the league, and they kind of force a team's hand like, hey, I got to go work, so can you trade me over there, please? Yeah, so very difficult, but I would not mind the move. I did hear, I think it was one of McKay's recent interviews, that Lucas Nielsen was working his butt off all season behind the scenes with those guys. I guess he was another guy who stayed local and was in the system, and he was just constantly at practice,
just got traded to St.
learning.
Catharines and the juniors as well.
Yeah, so he's not to get on your plan.
Oh, I'm grasping at straws here, man. I'm not taking offense to any of this stuff.
But yeah, I'm kind of excited for whenever. I mean, I absolutely want Kyle back. Lucas, you can take a seat for another year. That's fine. But if Kyle doesn't come back, it sounds like Nielsen is already taking big strides forward behind the scenes, which is really good to see for the Bandits. But that's not what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Now we're talking about poaching players, not the players that are already in the system.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Nielsen. We don't want you right now. Maybe next segment when we talk about the Buffalo Bandits. But we'll move on. Halifax, 11-7, third in the league. 239 goals for, 13.28, which was second. And I finally did it right. 213 goals against, 11.83 goals a game against, 11th in the league. They lost 16-7 and 10-9 versus Saskatchewan in the second round. That was the whole debacle of one game in the first week and then possibly back-to-back games in Saskatchewan the second week, and it ended up not mattering. But, Phil, how did you think Halifax did? Because they were one of our big misses this offseason.
Yeah, I thought they did a really, really good job. They had the tough task of replacing Benesh and Shanks on their offense, but having Stotts play a full season was huge. He had a big, big year. Peterson had another 100-plus point season. Hogarth went and had a career-best season with 62 points. He did have a 61-point season back in the day with the Bandits in 2019, so he did have it in him, but last year he had 18 points. So the boost that they got from Hogarth was massive, and it's something that, yes, he had in his past in 2019, but can he find that again? And he did with Halifax. I think he was really, really big for that team. And then Mike Robinson adding 54 points as a rookie helped fill that gap as well. And the defense, I like it a lot. I really, really like their team in general. Armstrong, Graham, Hozak, Smith, Bell, and Pearson all solid on defense. And then Withers and especially Tarafanko, who had a monster season in transition. Their problem, and this is, again, we're going right back to a Rochester-style team, and this is what scares me about Buffalo. It is a team who couldn't really decide who they wanted to start in a net between Hutchinson and Hill. Both were streaky, both had really good games, both had really bad games, but they were pretty similar in what they had. Both had about a 76 save percentage. Both were at about a 11.5 goals against plus a little bit. But this is what worries me about Buffalo if Vince were to retire. They have, you see it, this is two teams now in the, top half of the league that have great offenses, have great defenses, but don't have that elite goalie, and they crash and burn in the playoffs because that's what they're missing. And this is what you see again. They have two goaltenders that are decent at times, but when it came to playoffs, they didn't know which one they wanted to play. This is exactly like Rochester. They didn't know who they wanted to play between Hartley and Hutchinson. Like, which one is the true starter? And that's not the situation you want to be in headed into playoffs. And yes, they got out of round one finally. Congratulations. But they went up against a really strong Saskatchewan team. And yeah, it came down to a ridiculous play in game 2 for Saskatchewan to take it to overtime and win. But still, they ended up being the better team. And to me, it came down to goaltending again. But this is what scares me about Buffalo if Vince were to retire, is that you see the blueprint of teams that have the great offense, have the great defense, but don't have that top 5, top 4 goalie, and you see kind of where it puts them in playoffs, and it's just not quite good enough.
Yeah, they started 0-3, and I believe all 3 of those losses were 1 goal, and I think a couple of them were overtime.
They were a sneaky good team all season that wasn't really talked about.
Yeah, they went 7-1 in a stretch, and then 4-3 in the final 7. One of the big players on offense that you missed was big man Dawson Theed, who I absolutely love. Come to Buffalo. But yeah, Hogarth was a great add from Calgary when they were ditching all their players. Offense was electric. I mean, second in the league for a reason. Transition game was one of the most dangerous ones in the league. And then their defense and goaltender, where you kind of went over it, they just weren't consistent enough. And I'm only blaming Hill and Hutchinson so much. Their defense, while they have bigger names that are flashy, I don't think they have enough studs on the back end that are reliable enough back there that are
1v1 type.
Yes,
defenders.
that are good enough defensively. But this is one of those teams that's already almost reloading it and ready to go back for round 2 this year. I mean, they've already re-signed Armstrong. They've already re-signed Hutchison, Pearson, Robinson, Smith to new deals even before the CBA, even before quote-unquote free agency opens. But they have their own first-round pick, which is 12th overall. They own Ottawa's first-round pick, which was from trading their 2023 first-round pick. They have no second because they went to Colorado versus the Anthony Jochum deal. But under contract, Bo Hunter's there, Hogarth's there, Jameson's there, Robinson, Stas, Theed. The only ones that really need deals that are really quote-unquote key pieces are having their rights with the team. Peterson's is an RFA. Kirst and Knox are both with the rights with the team. You're looking at the back end. Armstrong, Hosick, Pearson, Smith, who I really love and completely underrated, and I was mentioning him all last offseason, and then he had an unbelievable season this year. And again, Bandits blew their opportunity. Haha. But Tarafanko, Thompson, Withers, Wild are all re-signed. The only guys really back there that are UFAs are Tyson Bell, and I would imagine he's going to be back in Halifax as well. So it's so tough to look at this team and say, hey, you need to improve in these areas when they're just bringing everybody back. So it will be interesting. Hutchison was the one guy that was an RFA. They already re-signed him. Now, Warren Hill is a UFA in net. Is he going to test the market? Are they going to just rely on Hutchison? Or are they going to try to bring Warren Hill back? Because we've already mentioned it multiple times. I'm not going to dive too far into it because it's for a later show. But Nick Rose, Warren Hill are the two big names in the free agents of America right now. And Nick Rose is all but assured going back to Toronto. Christian Elbianco's a UFA, but he's already staying in Vancouver. It's never going to change. So Warren Hill's really the big fish in the tiny little pond out there. Does Halifax just lock him up and keep him away from the likes of Buffalo, keep him away from the likes of other teams that are looking for reliable netminders and just go, hey, he's the best one out there, we're going to run it back with him? Or does he want to come try to play for a solid defense in Buffalo? But we gave him a B+. I think that's very fair considering how when last offseason we mentioned, who did we mention? We mentioned Halifax, we mentioned Toronto, and I can't remember the third team who we mentioned. I'm blanking on it. But Halifax was the one team that I was crediting that's saying, hey, they're starting to tear this thing down and redoing it because Shanks wasn't back, Ben Esch wasn't back, and their offense got so much better. It's just I think they need to do similar stuff on the back end. And that's why the Bandits' interest for me, it's kind of a wild card. I don't see it happening, but there wasn't a ton of other players because they're just re-signing everybody, is Max Wilson. Now, he didn't play a ton last year. He was hurt a lot, but he's a former first-round pick, 12th overall in 2021. Last year only played in 7 games, 8 loose balls, 6 caused turnovers, 3 block shots. But the year before that, 13 games played. He had 17 loose balls, 2 caused turnovers, 4 block shots. Year before that, 12 games played. So he's been in and out of the lineup a lot, but he's a former first-round pick. Do you want to add him to the equation on Buffalo's defense and add another younger player, another younger former first-round pick to this equation and see what he's got? But he's an RFA, so you will have to go trade for his rights and work a deal with him. But I think that would be really the only player that I could see Buffalo trying to snag away. I was looking at like a Jason Knox or a Cole Kirsch because they have 6 lefty forwards up there. But for some reason, they love tossing out a 5 lefty forward lineup for over and over. Maybe pull one of those guys back and add an extra defender on the back end, and maybe that would help a little. I don't know. Maybe not.
I know we had the in-season issue, but Tyson Bell would also be just another possibly interesting.
I could see that also.
UFA defender type style player. Interesting to see. I can't believe Carter McKenzie's only 24 years old. I thought he had been in the league a bit longer.
San Diego was the other team.
Yes, and then Bloomberg's. I think he was former
Buffalo guy. Yep.
Buffalo, and then Christian Watt still kicking around. Good for Christian. Good. Keep it up. Keep it going out there. Yeah. Again, like you mentioned, not too
Alex
much.
Q also.
Yeah. A lot of. I mean, it happens. It's a small-ish league with a ton of talent out there, chilling everywhere. But yeah, there's not too much to steal here. Like we've mentioned plenty of times, and he's under contract, but you're not getting the Graham Hozeks, the Pearsons, the Smiths, the Tarafankos. Like, it's just absolutely never going to happen.
The Theeds.
The Theeds, the Withers, all of them. So out of the players you can get, like you said, Max Wilson, possibly if you were to trade for it, might be another younger guy for that defense to bring in with some of the older guys and the Bandit squad that you want to continue to backfill the youth, but the Bandits have quite a bit of that as well.
Yeah, when will the Bandits ever listen? Last year I said Josh Medeiros from Panther City. He ends up being taken by Rochester. Said Taylor Jensen. He goes and has a great season. Trevor Smith, he has a great season. Hey, sign me up, guys. Sign me up. I find him perfect.
Yeah, we'll get you in the scouting department.
Yeah, do it.
Get them 1 year ahead. You got to be 1 year ahead before they take off, and you got to be 1 year ahead to trade them before their bad down year. So
I don't know how good I am at that. I'm good at finding the diamonds in the rough.
All right.
Maybe
we'll leave that to somebody
never able to get. But the final team here is a team that Buffalo defeated in the final. Saskatchewan Rush, 13-5 season, second in the league, 213 goals for, 7th overall at 11.83. 179 goals against. They were one of 2 teams under the 200 goal mark here. 9.95 goals against, second in the league. They lost 12-10 and 15-9 to Buffalo in the finals while winning game 2 to send it to game 3, but Buffalo edged them there. I thought they had a fantastic season. We both had them finishing 8th before the season started, and they bested us once again.
Yeah, to me, their offense is very strange. I know it got said so many times throughout the year, that it was as balanced of an offense as you could possibly have, and it's true. Mann's lost about 10 points. Church lost 30 points in 4 less games. Keenan lost 17 points. But they had the addition of Shanks, 72 points, Haley's 43, Walters 42, and the offense ended up being very, very balanced with not a single player having more than 74 points, which is wild. The Bandits are sitting
we'll
over
put
there.
the asterisks. I think Robert Church would have gotten close to 90.
He would have gotten
if he
close to,
played,
I think,
but
100.
I
do
do agree with your statement there. Yeah.
But it's so weird to have the Bandits who have 2 at over 130, and they don't have somebody. Like you said, if Church played a full season, I think he was on pace probably to closer to 100. Yeah. So it's a little bit off in that aspect, but still just weird to see 4 players in the 70s. To me, though, as balanced as it was, their offense, I think, still needs something. They need to get better. I know it's a lot of transition and it's a lot of balanced offense, but when it came down to it in the end, when Buffalo finally played Buffalo's game after 2, to me, really rough games in the championship, I think they were kind of lucky that they won that first one, and then they deserved to lose the second one because they were just playing very, very sloppy. But then when Buffalo turned it on and played Buffalo defense, you saw the Rush offense kind of crumble and couldn't do anything against it when Buffalo played as elite as they can. So I think that's where the offense needs to get better. They need to be able to overcome a Buffalo defense, a Vancouver defense, because those are the teams that are you're going to see in the finals for years to come still. The defense, though, very, very good. They went from 210 goals down to 179. Like you already mentioned, only one of 2 teams to have less than 180. They had Matt Hozak, Messenger, Garland, Jay, and Barnable, all great on defense. Boudreau, great in transition and defense, but he added 29 points in transition. And then rookie faceoff phenom Jake Nasso finished with a 61.3 faceoff percentage. Really, really good. And then the story, I think, of their entire season was Frank Scigliano and his rebound of a year. I think he finally put together a full season, which was really huge for him. I mean, it was mentioned so many times that he didn't know how to finish out a season, but this year he proved everyone wrong. He played really, really well, had a 9.4 goals against, 79.5 save percentage. He was massive, and he, to me, was the reason this team got as far as they did. Yes, they had plenty of great defensive players, plenty of great offensive players, but again, like we've mentioned a ton of times already, you need that goalie. You need that elite goalie, and he ended up being the goalie of the year. And I think he is the reason they got as far as they did, but ran into a Buffalo team that is just way too talented.
Yeah, they started 3-0, 5-game winning streak mixed in there, finished 4-3 down the stretch. Head coach of the year, GM of the year, defender of the year, goaltender of the year, Hosek in the dispersal draft, which was one of the biggest steals of the dispersal draft. Scigliano, like you already mentioned, he was absolutely insane. I think him having those couple weeks off for the birth of his first child definitely did help him rebound and come back even stronger. But yeah, this was his first year to put it all together. And I know goaltenders develop at a slower rate, but I think this team is destined for greatness, and I think they're just going to keep getting better. And you mentioned the forward group, and the 4 guys over 70 points, but nobody over 80, and you think somebody else needs to – they need another piece here. And I learned this on Lacrosse Classified last episode, and I'll kind of touch it in here, but I think Haley's going to take that next step. I think they stole him from Vancouver. I don't know why the heck Vancouver makes that type of deal, but I love Brock Haley. I think he's going to take that next step forward. But I do agree, they kind of came up small in the game 3. They need a little bit extra, and it could be in the form of Patrick Dodds. And remember, he didn't play all last year, and I was wondering why the heck. He took a step back last year after coming over from Panther City before the dispersal draft and that big trade, and then he has a down year with Saskatchewan. He was on firefighter probation. Does he end up coming back to the NLL now that that's up? Does he add a little extra flair on that right side? Because Church, while he's a UFA and can reject the franchise tag, I can assume that he's probably going to be coming back. Ryan Keenan, I can't see him leaving his dad for anywhere else. But then you got Mans, who's an RFA. Trillo's an RFA. Walter. You got Anderson, Haley. They're all rights are remaining there. So the biggest question is going to be Robert Church. Can you bring him back? I would assume you can convince him to come back. And then if you get Patrick Dodds back in the equation, he steps back into it. Haley takes that next step. I think the offense is fixed because you already have Austin Shanks up forward and Josh Zawada is signed to a protected players contract. But They have their 13th overall pick. They have Albany's second round pick from the Paulus deal. Vancouver has their second in the Haley deal, which is still insane. But then you're looking at the back end. I mean, they don't really have big notable players that are UFAs in general. I already mentioned Church and Keenan. I believe they're both going to be coming back. But Adam J, he's a West Coast guy because I was thinking, okay, maybe Buffalo would have interest in him because he came from Toronto, but he's a West Coast guy. He's a UFA. I imagine he's coming back. But Barnable's an RFA. Boudreau, Garland, you got Kidd, McClellan. These guys are all RFAs, and they're all West Coast guys. Why would you leave this good thing that you just went to the finals? I think you're just going to keep getting better. And Frank Scigliano already re-upped for 2 more extra years. So we gave him an A-. I don't think this team's going anywhere anytime soon. I do agree with you. I think they need that little extra thing on offense to take that next step. But is that Brock Haley taking the next step? Is that a Patrick Dodds? Or is that them going out and saying, okay, come to Saskatchewan. Look what we're building here. Look at our coach, Jimmy Quinlan. You got Derek Keenan, who's a built-in winner here. That is a good selling point for Saskatchewan that mostly has to, and we had Cody Jansen on the show. He says Saskatchewan's tough to recruit players because of how tough it is to get there. If you show them, hey, this is what it can be and this is what we have coming here, maybe come here for a year. Maybe they can convince a guy like Mitch Jones to come there for a year. Maybe they can convince a guy like Dane Doby to come for 1 more year. Again, just tossing his name out there. I would imagine if he's coming back for 1 more year, it's going to Vancouver. But it would be interesting to see if, because of their finals run this past season and all the youth that they have, if they're able to convince some guys to come. But I think an A- for them is a pretty stinking good grade.
Yeah, I don't think they're going anywhere with Vancouver.
Yeah.
I think right now, I mean, we'll see what happens with Vince and what that does to Buffalo, but I think right now it would be Vancouver, the Rush, and the Bandits as the top 3
Toronto.
teams.
Just watch out for Toronto.
No, I'm not giving them credit until I see it. But I think right now those are the 3 top teams, and I think there's a gap between those 3. I think it's those 3, and then there's a drop off before you get to the rest of the league. I think those are the teams to catch right now. I know Buffalo took them both down, but I think they are very, very quickly going to be able to catch up, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see if Vince is back. I think the Bandits have every ability to do it again, but I think these teams are right at their heels, and like you said, I think they're becoming destinations. Even though Saskatchewan might not be the greatest, easiest place to play, I think the culture they're building within the team is really, really strong. All the players that are there want to be back, want to be there, and I think that's a big part of it. Yes, I think Vancouver is going to be the destination out west, but I think the Rush will be right behind them. If you can't find a spot in Vancouver, I think your second option is going to be with the Rush before anybody else, and then we'll see where it goes from there. San Diego, though, very beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say San Diego is not a bad alternative as well.
No.
For the Bandits' interest, again, this one was tougher, but I dug a little bit more deeper into this one. Maybe a Mike Triolo. I mean, he's from the Toronto area. His hometown is in New York. I mean, he's an RFA right-handed shot guy, so maybe he could come in and be a different type of player if Kyle Buchanan doesn't come back. Again, you would have to trade for him. Last year, 14, 15, and 29, but the year before that, in 16 games, 18, 19, and 37. So, yes, a bit of a step back last year, but you brought in a guy like Brock Haley who took up time. You brought in a guy like Austin Shanks who took up time, so that would make sense. But he's a big boy. If you want to change up the dynamic of your right-handed side, maybe a guy like Mike Triolo could be that factor. Again, he is an RFA, but he's also 33 years old. He hasn't spent a ton of time in between the boards in lacrosse, but that was the only name I could really pull from. I was looking at a couple other names. I'm like, Adam Chase from the West Coast. Why would he want to come back here? Keegan Bell, he works with Christian Del Bianco and Tyler Pace. Why would he come to the East Coast? I'm like, come on, this is why this league kind of stinks at this point, because every guy I'm looking at is from the West Coast. Why would they come to the East Coast, even with Buffalo? But yeah, that was the only name I could really pull from it. Again, West Coast is really tough, especially in this situation.
Hey, you dug deep, you did your research,
I tried.
and even though, like you said, I don't see it happening per se, it would be that kind of lane-setting body out there to
that they try
take
to
up
win
some more
away
space.
from this year.
Right, so that'd be the thing. Do they want to go back to it, or do they love the dynamic they already have? But like you said, you are digging real deep for these West Coast names, so the fact that you're able to find somebody in the hometown of New York, we'll take it. We'll take what we can get as a potential option from these teams.
But that concludes the grades and report cards for all 13 other teams in the league. If you do the math right, that leaves just one more. Your 3-time defending champion Buffalo Bandits are heading to the classroom. They're in the parking garage right now, making their way to the classroom. They will be here next week. And again, next week, if you've been waiting for it, all Bandits, all show. So get ready for that. But Phil, we went a little bit long on this one.
Don't get to that shoot around too early, or else Chase Fraser will be all over you. So
yeah, Phil was telling me about that story.
stay in the classroom and wait on deck until your time is up.
It's the end of the year. Find other activities outside to do. But Phil, before we shut down, anything else before we get ready for one more week, and then it's all Bandits all the time next Wednesday?
Nope, we are all good over here.
Perfect. Good luck with your rats. I will be careful of branches coming at my eyeballs. But yeah, we'll wrap this one up again next episode. Unless something major happens, it's going to be Bandits report card time, and I got a little inkling that their grade might start with an A and end in a plus, but that's just a guess. It's just a guess. We haven't looked at the report cards, crunched out the numbers yet, but we'll start wrapping this one up. We'll be back next Wednesday for another episode, but until then, thanks for listening. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at, why is my outro music not playing? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. No articles, but we got something cooking up this